Good morning, everybody. Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. As is tradition, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, helps the algorithm. And as always, feel free to join our Discord and hang out with me live when I do these. Other than that, I am freaking exhausted today. So, we're going to hopefully get a good stream for you guys today. Maybe we'll get a little educational content in there, and hopefully we'll make some good trades and not absolutely shoot ourselves in the foot because our brain's only firing at about half capacity. So, that being said, what do we have going on? We are about 2.5-ish minutes from opening bell. We have big jobs reports coming out tomorrow for September. We've got some interesting news developments from last night into today with OPEC and, of course, no, I think OPEC's just the big one. It could be something else in there. Like I said, my brain's kind of frazzled today. Yesterday's activity. We had a lot of two-sided trading up and down, very thin, stretched out profile. Not something you'd entirely expect when we're in a consolidation. We are fighting the 20 moving average as resistance on the daily, the 200 moving average on the weekly as resistance as well. So we've got price action that's kind of developing just underneath that. The point of control from yesterday did end up lining up with the previous day's point of control, which does also tell us that, that's where trade is kind of accepted right now. And we're going to be seeing, pardon me, what happens today. Right out of the gate, we're probably just going to be sitting on the sidelines. I'm expecting balance today, which means we're going to be looking for the extreme plays with corrective activity back towards the middle, kind of similar to how we played yesterday and the day before. Yeah, and the day before. Hopefully, we're not going to get in too early to a position, so you guys don't have to watch me lose money before I win money. And of course, if you did watch through the entire video yesterday, I did end up stopping the stream before the big move that we had been playing to finally happened. So yes, I did pay for my mistakes, and we did hit our daily goal. So far in October, we're doing all right. But there's can't get ahead of ourselves. We can't get too cocky. The market has a phenomenal way of humbling us when we start to think that we are smarter than it. I've definitely been a victim of myself in that regards before. And hopefully that's just never going to happen again. But we'll see. I like to be optimistic in that regard. All right, guys. We're about to hit opening bell. Let's see how the first couple minutes scrum goes. So our long short lines for today. It's not something I'm going to be playing off right out of the morning in the get-go. Activity's been a little bit wild, so we don't really have a solid consolidation zone to play off of. Again, like I said, yesterday's profile was so stretched out. Our value zone is almost top to bottom completely, and it's very much wider than our current T+2 day. So we really don't have, pardon me, anything in that regard to be looking for. Yeah. So our most important lines are going to be our halfback, our overnight high, and our overnight low. If we are able to break that overnight low, find acceptance, that's going to give bulls a little bit more gusto. And of course, if we end up losing our overnight low, then we've got our previous day low on the line. And of course, that gap below us and some relatively weak structure that we could see a revisit to get some repairing in. Our Heikinashi candles are currently hugging the 200 on our 15-minute chart. They are inside of a red cloud. We had a crossover in the overnight activity there. So if this kind of keeps developing the way it is, we might be looking for a long position based off of what our Heikinashi is telling us this morning. Not going to enter on that chart, but we're going to use it to help us determine if we should be looking for a long or a short. Of course, if activity kind of gets choppy, very two-sided, we'll just sit on our hands and wait. Nobody ever went broke waiting. Good morning. Hello. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. Always nice to see your smiling orange tag. All right. Got some pretty solid upward movement. First thing, going to turn our overnight activity off on our main chart just because it's kind of, given how wide our overnight session is, it's throwing some of the information off. Looks much better on the screen you guys are looking at compared to what I was looking at. My candles were very short and stout. So it looks like there was a brief pause on its way up here, right about where our stop line is. It's kind of interesting. Again, those lines are relatively arbitrary. I did base them off of a zone from yesterday's activity, middle of the day-ish. But they're not something that I'm looking to exclusively trade off of today. Oh, man. Jeez, I gotta wake up. Oh, to quote one of my favorite movies, "You're killing me, Smalls." All right, going up to test the previous day close. See if we get some mechanical selling there. As I have said before, crossing the close line is when all the screens around the world change color. So if the morning is red and we cross above the close, everybody's screen flips green. If the morning is green and we cross below the close, everybody's screen flips red. So it's more a psychological thing than anything else, but I think we're going to mark that high off. I don't know. We'll see. That was a pretty aggressive buyback of that selling candle. Well, it looks like the sell is not quite done. Of course, our moving average cloud is still looking particularly bullish out of the gate. We're smack dab in the middle of yesterday and the previous day's range, kind of hugging that puck. I guess we can add a resistance line there. It does seem like it's starting to apex off of that point. Given how short this session has been, not expecting anything too explosive from this condensing of price action. Wow, almost butchered that word. Ooh. Come on, coffee, do your thing. All right, so we've marked out a little zone here. We've got the high from the opening drive. We've got the low right where the first pullback was. We're not going to use it as a support to buy, at least not yet. We are definitely getting some coiling price action really early. A little VWAP touch, starting to break into our cloud a bit, and it looks like we're going to rotate to the underside of VWAP now. Test out some lows before any bullish activity can continue. So there's two ways we can look at this little activity that just happened here. We could guess that in the shortest of time frames, that poke below could be a spring event for a return to the resistance and possibly break, or that could be the support level that we're looking for. Unfortunately, we're really not going to know until price action kind of susses itself out a little bit more. And at the same time, there really wasn't enough market generated information there to make a judgment call, but it looks like that was in fact a spring. It did bring us up to the resistance and we broke the resistance. So that's pretty textbook right there, which is cool. To see if this is a confirmed spring and or break, we want to see a pullback towards that previous resistance, hold as support before we can, kind of confirm it that that's where activity's heading in the short term. But it doesn't always come back to test when it breaks, so also I just realized I never really set the upper and lower targets for today. So our upper target is actually going to be just below our overnight high. And actually our lower target's going to stay where it is. Oh, that was a pretty solid break off of a spring event there. Now, again, there wasn't enough market generated information for me to feel confident in buying there. Of course, the failure to rotate back below VWAP, that could have been a signal for us to go long as well, depending on how you wanted to look at the information presented to you. So I'd say, hindsight, looking at it all, that the failure to rotate below VWAP was the buy-in sign. Wow, look at this. Do, 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 do. Nice little rocket ship. So we're going to let this play out. but we may be looking for a short position once this upward move seems like it started to exhaust itself. As I had stated in the morning report, we're expecting a balanced day today, especially with the big reports dropping tomorrow. Um, doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but until we have market generated information that proves us wrong, that's the overall intraday thesis that we're going to be working on. So with balanced days, that means our best lucrative plays are going to be playing the corrective activity at the extremes. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, that does mean that you need to be a little bit more patient. Without enough information, you're just guessing the top or the bottom of a move. So you do need to see a few different signs and signals that prove a movement is starting to die out and you are at the extreme. Whether you're looking for subsequent periods on the 30-minute scale that aren't able to reach any levels, or you're looking for shortenings of the thrust on your shorter time frames, or if you're just trying to do some volume analysis on the Weiss wave chart. Those are the three different things that myself personally I will be looking at to help me gauge and or judge. I feel like there was something else I was going to say. Yeah, brain's just not firing well. If we do end up getting a HA crossover on our 15-minute chart, we'll probably look for the late morning, midday pullback to see if we have a play we can go long on. Because if this activity does continue and starts to consolidate in the upper echelon, if there's no corrective activity that rotates us back down, that would be the point at which we would be looking to try and play this long for a potential break of our resistance levels. Now, of course, again, still early. We've barely got 15 minutes of information in. I'm just trying to walk you through the thought process of the different scenarios we're trying to be prepared for, so that way, if and when they happen, we're not caught off guard and we can, take advantage of them, be ready for those to happen, so we can maximize profits and minimize losses. We are getting up near the previous day value high. And that's where we do have a spike from yesterday, and we saw a failure to move higher. We do have our overnight high pretty much right at the tippy top of our spike. Our upper target is almost upon us. So if we were in a long position, that's the target at which we would be looking to sell and or take a good chunk of our profit, because above there, we're starting to look for signs of failure in the movement to short. We're also looking for signs of that at this level too, but we're not going to get in, or we don't want to get in too early. So we're going to give it the opportunity to play out, see if it wants to create some supports, things like that. And if it rotates really aggressively and we're just not in a move, well, that's fine too. We'll wait for more market generated information. All right, we're going to go ahead, give ourselves a resistance line where this move ended. And when this pushback stops, we'll give ourselves a little support line there, at least temporarily, until it shows us whether or not it's done with this pullback move. Might be looking to get down near the 377.7 level before it stops, but we'll see. I can put a line there for now and then move it if I need to. Nothing's really happening right now. Keep trying to tell myself I'm not going to just talk to fill dead space for the sake of talking. Got a lot of volume right at this focal point where our candles are getting shorter and shorter. I mean, you can see in the volume profile, that's the most volume has been traded so far this morning, right at that point. So below that line, we can assume that supply is pushing back. Above that line, we can assume demand is rising. It's kind of how points of control work if you want to look at it from the auction perspective. All right. Wow. All the way back to the VWAP. We got a test earlier that failed. Generally speaking, after a test of VWAP, it's not as probable to buy a second bounce. Doesn't mean that it can't happen, because there is also the rule that the more times something bounces off something and refuses to break, that actually is a sign of strength as opposed to a sign of weakness. But with VWAP, especially earlier in the morning, a lot of times after the first or second test, the second or the third test is the rotation. We do see that the cloud is starting to condense, so we're potentially looking at a crossover event coming soon. In theory, though, if we are looking for a short position around here, there should be a better entry. We want to see this make a last-ditch effort to move up before it moves back down. That would be ideal. Whether or not that's going to happen, we'll see. So here's that next line of support. Looks like supply flooded in pretty good. We're about to get that crossover. Looking at our 15-minute Heikin-Ashi candles, if we are crossing over to the upside on those, we're getting pretty close to a good entry point for long. So, depending on your trading style and what you're looking for, could have an argument forming. On our short time frame, though, with this about to cross over, I'm not looking to get in long right here. Oh, I apologize, everybody, but I need to step away for a few minutes. I gotta go take care of something. I will be right back. Hopefully, nothing too crazy or exciting happens. All right. Sorry about that. Thanks for sticking through that dead zone. Oh, all right, let's see. What did we miss? Okay. So we talked about how entering on the breach of VWAP was probably not the place we wanted to go short, right? And look what happened. We did get that rotation back up, that failure to move higher over that level, right where the POC was. And what happened? We came back down. We actually got the crossover, and there was our short entry. Ding, ding, ding. I love, absolutely love when things work out like that, textbook wise, because that's what we were just talking about, right? Of course, unfortunately, I was not here to take advantage of that. So hopefully, one of you guys was able to take advantage of that. But, anyways, that play is done. That play is gone. We now have to look for a new one. All right. We can definitely consider that a resistance now. Oh, we also just started B period. Okay. Let's see if B period tries to challenge the low on the day. If we get a turnaround here, not consolidation, a bounce. If we get a bounce, that is good news for bulls. If we get consolidation or if we end up taking out the low, that's good news for bears. So we're going to load up our long contracts just in case we see an opportunity to get in long. All right, testing that halfback. Max pain. We've got a new low on the day. Making some nice proper ticks. Boom. A lot of effort going into this down move, all the way back to where it started. And of course, there's a lot of effort, but they also got a lot of reward there. There's almost no pushback from buyers. We can tell that looking at our Weiss waves. Let's see, volume on the day. So far, today's daily volume is 90% selling. Yikes. I'd say sellers are in control right now, eh? It's interesting though. The high of today came just shy of the previous day value high. So I'm wondering if this is going to go and test the low end of value. I mean, if that's the case, then we've got the overnight low on our radar. And then we'll have another wide-ranging day similar to yesterday. So we're definitely not looking to get in long right here. We are not. Ideally, we kind of want to see something similar to what we got with the failure at the long. We want to see that return to VWAP. Unfortunately, that's not going to be the most lucrative spot to enter, but it will be one that'll give us a few more signals as to whether we're right in playing this as a balanced day or not. So we've got consolidation down here. Definitely not looking to buy into the consolidation. Now, if we get some pushback, if we get a nice run up towards our 48 moving average, we will probably buy the next low after that. Because at that point, we would be looking to buy in somewhere along that trend line. All right, well, not going to have a long play yet. But this is fine. We don't want to get into anything too soon. We don't want to repeat the same mistake of yesterday. I say mistake. We still won yesterday, but here's the thing. If we hadn't gotten in as soon as we did, if we had been a little bit more patient, waited for the last sign of getting in long, we would have been in the best possible spot. Well, all right, not the best possible spot, but the best possible spot with all of the variables pointing up. And we would have also been able to make a lot more money off of that first move. So, patience pays. It's something that I try to teach the people who mentor with me. It isn't about trying to make as many trades as you can. It isn't about trying to hit those home runs every time. It's about waiting for the moment, like a very patient predator, for when all of your edges align and you have the highest probability, short of someone with a lot of money entering the market, of being on the right side of the move. Because again, you can do all the TA you want. You can be reading the market well. You can have your finger on that pulse. If somebody with a lot of money enters the market and decides they want it to go a different direction, doesn't matter what you saw, what the probability was, it's going to flip. Or if a lot of people with money enter the market all simultaneously because of some news event or something else, that'll flip your probabilities on their head as well. And that's why we protect ourselves, because we can't control those events. We can control how much we allow ourselves to lose if and when those events occur, but that's it. Getting some consolidation down here. Very different than what we saw at the highs of today. Remember the highs? We had some pretty V-shaped movement. Up to the top, down to a low, up to a top, down to the low. Now we're getting some consolidation. Not as much trade is taking place down here in this consolidation. I mean, you can see that up at the tops, we still had a lot more volume trade at that point. So if trade is not facilitating well down here, and they can't find interested sellers to push it lower, that's when we should start our rotation back up. But we got to wait until we get those signs, those signals. Because if they keep finding interested parties to sell, this is going to keep trickling down. Just like any auction, they're looking for the price that people want to buy. and it is not here. Good news is I think we've got a little channel developing down here that we can draw some lines on. We'll see how well this syncs up. Some pretty decent touches. And the angle of approach seems to be fairly in line with our trend line from the top of today. That's not the peak. That's the peak. Yeah, those are almost going the exact same direction. Angle's a little bit off, but so we still aren't seeing the exhaustive seller activity yet. I think I'm finally starting to wake up a little bit. Oh, coffee. Ooh, there's our overnight low. So we did draw this channel from the bottom line. So that breach right there was a potential reverse channel play. I did not enter on it. There isn't enough down here to make me feel like that would be a good move. That is something that we played yesterday. That was part of the opening strategy to getting in on the correct long side. And if we recall, it worked out after it didn't work out. So I'm not too eager to get into that again today. And of course, looks like a reversal play there would have actually worked out sooner rather than later. With the contracts we're currently looking at, you could have taken 25, 30 cents right there off that move, touching the moving average. That's not bad for a scalp. Say 25, 30 cents, given how many contracts you're playing, that could be your daily goal right there. But scalping is a quick game, because as you can see, right at the middle there, if you weren't out, now you're running the risk of coming back to break even. So if you are trying to get into the scalping game, Suggestion is that you already have your sell points lined up after you enter. Because a lot of times, if you're targeting the right spots, so is everybody else. So are the algorithms. So recognizing, where the potential turnarounds are, where people are going to be trying to offload positions that they may be playing the same as you have to take advantage of that. You have to be ready for that, or you'll be, the laggard. You'll be the one left holding the bag. Okay, this little bounce right here is showing us a shortening of the thrust is beginning. Of course, that moving average line's still holding pretty strong. The cloud is getting a little bit narrower, but we haven't had any breaches through to indicate a weakness in the move yet. Yeah, it's pretty much a touch of the top of the channel. Ironically, the value of the contracts right there at that point are about equal to where they were on that first IV pump up to the middle of the channel. So again, that's why scalping, it's important to know your sell points, right? Because as soon as that starts to chew sideways a little bit more, you're going to lose out on the IV. You're going to get some theta burn starting. And yeah, it's just important to know where you're out. Okay, so we've finally got a little bit of a breach in the cloud to indicate some weakness. Now that we got the touch off the 48, we're going to be looking for this next low to potentially buy into. Make sure we have the correct contracts loaded up. We do. Now, the other important thing about playing EMA clouds when you are looking for that weakness in the movement, if we do get that pullback, if the next low is lower than the lowest low, that isn't one that you're looking to buy. Um, if you look a little bit earlier on in the day when we had that first pullback to the 48, the next high was well above the high we had established. So that wasn't something we would be looking to buy there. But if you follow it a little bit further, you see that breakdown, right? Where we get the push through the 48, then we come back up. That high is significantly lower than the previous high, lined up with a resistance level. That was one that we would sell. So for this, looking to buy, when we get that pushback, we want to make sure that the low we're buying is in fact a rising low and not one that's going to start running. Hello, good morning. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us. How are you doing, man? I was actually just thinking about you. I was going to check in with you today because we hadn't chatted in a while. Ah, you're a lurky turkey. We miss you too, buddy. Yeah, market's been treating me well. I mean, I've been respecting it, so that's probably why. September was a really good month. Started out this month pretty good so far. Trying to stay humble though. Recognize when I'm just getting stupid lucky and not over celebrating my smart decisions with my big smart brain. Yeah, maybe. Beginning of the year kind of put me in a position where I probably won't have to worry about that. But we'll see. I mean, we got a couple more months left. Equity curves heading in the right direction, curbing more and more of those problem behaviors. Next year, next year I think is going to be the first year I pay taxes on capital gains. Right? What's your goal for trading as a beginner? Well, I want to pay taxes. All right, got about 8 minutes to period C. I'm not liking the setup for the long entries yet. Not yet. I definitely do have a rising support there. The EMA cloud is starting to close. But if that was the low that we were supposed to buy, we would have expected a little bit of a more violent move to then break and head towards the VWAP. So it doesn't look like it's quite ready yet. Yeah, based on what we've got there, I am looking for the long position to play today's balance, but I don't want to get in too early. I did that yesterday and just kind of ground my wheels for a while before finally making money off the play. And it's funny is the activity that we're seeing right now is kind of similar to what was going on yesterday when I entered, and then it had to play itself out a little bit more before we got that. Oh, hey, yeah, no, that was a smart decision. Yeah, it's unfortunate the drop and rotation down this morning that we got. I I was talking about that play right as we crossed VWAP that first time. Well, not the first time, but that point right at about what was that 9:49, and then I had to I had to step away for a few minutes. And sure enough, right as I came back, the move was mostly done. I'm like, oh yeah, that's that high we were talking about selling right there. Look at that. Oops. So does kind of stink. That would have been, the play of the day. I would have been done already, but we missed it. So we got to wait for the next one. Yeah, it was telegraphed really well too. I love when we get those textbook plays and they just kind of work out. I also pretty much bought the absolute bottom of yesterday. And looking at how everything played out, I could have just walked away and not done anything, but I've been burned too many times trying to do stupid stuff like that. So I took my target goal when we hit it. Of course, looked at it at the end of the day and was like, wow, if I had just left those contracts on. But that's dangerous thinking. So for those of you watching the video, you shouldn't think like that. Don't look at the money you left on the table, because when days happen like that, there's no way you can predict them. Granted, you can use structure to help you identify, when you can just keep letting a position run. But as I was discussing with my wife the other night, where I'm at in my current trading journey, I don't really have um, the risk profile to let plays really run like that when it happens. So I'm more apt to just take my goal money for the day so I can continue to be consistent and then start putting more and more into the passive income slots, which is the ultimate goal. And then when, I've got a more sizable day trading account, then I can put on the positions that allow me to take my daily profit goal and then leave a little bit on for those big home runs in case they happen. All right, period C's coming up. Getting some crazy condensing down here. Coiling price action. All right, focus time. Looks like we might be on the precipice of a play here. A little pre-C rundown. Interesting. So that's a break of the apex. They're going to try and get price below that overnight low. All right, we're taking our position now. We're going to see what happens. Is if they can't generate price action acceptance below that overnight low, this should be the start of the rotation up. Of course, if they can generate that acceptance, well, we're just going to get stopped out. Ooh, poor low. Well, that's rough. Maybe it'll get a few ticks down and it'll stop short of previous day value, and we'll still be right. If not, this is not a good spot to be long. Whoa. Well, we just missed an opportunity because we didn't have a sell already established. But that was a 30-cent jump right there that if we had already had our sell at the moving average line, we could have taken some profit. And of course, since we have that poor structure below us, that may be the pushback we were looking for to get out of this position before it drops lower. All right. We sold for a little profit. Again, I don't like the way this low looks right now. Definitely could have sold it for more profit if we had been paying attention, but it is what it is. The important thing is it wasn't red. Oh. Damn, we could have taken that one there too. But there was no way to know, you know? Again, we were talking about this earlier this morning. This is why when you're in, potentially scalping positions like that, and I knew I was in a scalping position because we had the poor low, right? So I should have immediately started setting my sell points. Yes, still 90% of my trading is SPY and contracts. Been dabbling in some other stuff, but that's where the meat and potatoes is. Wow, is this really gonna even give us a little bit more, huh? Damn. I could have taken that first contract at 30 cents. Could have taken the second contract at another 30 cents. Then that third contract, we could have just let it sit at break even. Because at that point, if we took two for 30 cents, then we paid for a full loss on a position. So that basically would have given us our next play for free. But I still don't want to be long here. Not with that poor structure below us. We'll look for a good low in C period to go long. Yeah, here we go. Now we're getting some ticks below. So, see, we would have been losing if we hadn't sold. Yeah, you see that too. So, to kind of further the lesson as to why, when you see a poor low develop like that, if you're trying to play, the end or the beginning of a period, oftentimes when you get poor structure, the initial reaction to it is a push in the opposite direction. So a lot of times you can get really good scalps off plays like that, or at the very least, you can get out before you get hurt. All right, so that low right there, that just gave us a proper low and a nice pushback to the overnight low. Potentially could have entered there, but eh. Still looks like it's fighting that initial channel. Well, maybe we can change this a little bit now. We'll see what that looks like. All right, I like that. I like the cut of its jib. But on that note, I will be right back. And we're back. So we do have a proper low on the structure now, but we're not really seeing excited buying. So that really isn't an aggressive spike. We did just get a divergence in volume. Nice little spike on our volume bar and a teeny tiny candle. So that seems like it may have actually been the death knell of this bounce up move. And our gap might be holding for another leg down. We've still got our T plus 2 low, kind of right where our lower target is. I don't know. I don't think I would trust that until we end up breaking the previous day value low. But of course, at that point, we're already so close to the target. I mean, does it even make sense to try and short it there? All right, so here's the attempt at the gap fill. This is where we might actually have a good short opportunity at the top of our channel. Let's see, 374 is what we want to target for our low contracts. Well, it looks like maybe it was just a breach of the trend line and a pushback. Or not. Maybe the channel's still in play. We'll find out. It's either going to move up to the channel, break the channel, or it's going to fail at this test over that trend line. Those are our three options right now. Although I suppose fourth option, it could just pin itself to this POC as well. All right, we're starting to look at a potential crossover of our moving averages. Mayhaps we don't want to short the channel. No, I'm not using the TTM squeeze in place of the short interest stuff. I just moved that to a different chart. The TTM squeeze now, I'm just using to help me see points of consolidation a little bit clearer. Since I switched to a tick chart, sometimes I can get a little too hyper focused and I miss the moments at which things are condensing, and I probably shouldn't be trying to get into a position too quickly. So it isn't something that I'm making plays off of. It just, I can look at the red and the green dots and kind of remind myself if I'm looking for a play or if I'm waiting. So the short interest stuff I have over on my right screen now. And the reason that I had to move it is those scripts don't apparently work on tick charts. So I've got the short interest stuff on my Heiken Ashi 15-minute candles. So this is a good example right here of not just buying every touch of a line that you can. If you had sold the top of this channel here, you would want to see it push back rather quickly. similar to where it touched before. If it starts to consolidate along a line, the probability of it actually breaking through starts to increase. The longer it consolidates, the more exponential that probability increases to. So, always kind of keep that in mind. So if you were short and you weren't sure if you should be short, the market's giving you an opportunity right here, right now, to second guess yourself and potentially get out with some profit. We do now have a crossover of the moving averages. What we could be seeing develop is we could start to see a little bit of wishy-washy activity and a lot of chop for the next 5, 10, 15 minutes till we hit period D. Or this could be basing for the next leg up to go test VWAP. So, just be careful. Obviously, I could be completely wrong, and this could just crater back down to the bottom of the channel. And if you were short, then yeah, you just got a nice payday. So realistically, I'm telling you what I'm seeing and what I would do. If I had bought short, or if I had sold short at that line, I would have been looking to get out right at about that moving average level that we just touched. And then I'd sit and wait to see what this is doing. We do still have a little bit of a gap above us. And of course, if it refuses to fill that, then we should have a short coming back at us. Oh, something else to note. On our 5-day, 90-minute chart, we're about to get a crossover of our EMAs to the upside. A pretty weak crossover event to the upside. Again, still not a spot that I'd be interested in getting in short, but buying activity looks a little sus. Still refusing to fill that gap. But we are in a slight consolidation point here, so it should squeeze in a moment, one direction or the other. I guess up. There's a touch of our halfback, and where we've got a little bit of resistance that's been forming. This looks like the VWAP is next on the table, and that gap is closed. See if we get a pullback off the VWAP to buy. And it looks like buying in long just above our previous day value low was the play. We got in a little early. We had the right direction, just a little early. I mean, we were talking about treating this like a balance day. So theoretically, when I bought into that long position, I should have kept holding it with a stop below value. But that's an important note to make moving forward. And if you guys aren't doing it, you really should be journaling your trades, the trades that you take, your wins, your losses. Um, document things that happened after you got in and or out of a particular trade, because it'll help you learn when you can trust your judgment and when you should be, trying to do other things. Getting a little bit of consolidation here at VWAP. At the same time, volumes fallen off a bit. So trade isn't facilitating super well here. Of course, if there's nobody selling, we will just trickle up. Don't short a dull market. Yeah, I still think we're looking at a balanced day today. I believe we are going to rotate up and probably go test somewhere near the high of period A. I don't think we're going to overtake period A's high. I think we're going to see a rather proper and stretched out bell curve today. And I think we're going to close somewhere around the same spot we've been closing. And I think we're going to eventually see the point of control develop pretty much in unison with the last 2 days. I don't think the market is in any hurry to make a decision to move, especially with the big reports dropping tomorrow. And this is relatively par for the course when we do have the jobs reports dropping for the previous months. The market will kind of base itself for a couple days leading up to it. And then they either pull the rug out or we make a break for it. Now, the crazy thing is this is kind of poised for really either of those scenarios to be explosive, right? We have a gap below us in our daily activity, as well as some poor structure with VPOCs. We also have some pretty prominent resistances above us with the 200 weekly and the 20 on the daily. So, yeah, I think based on tomorrow's information, if it's better than expected, maybe we've got a nice little pop coming. If it's worse than expected, well, we've got some structure we can go repair. All right, now that we've had more movement, we should zoom this out and readdress our structural drawings. See how everything's working out for us. So on the day, we've got downward pointing action. We are starting to break some structure because this would have been the third touch of resistance at this point, and it hasn't turned around yet. The lower point, a little bit of a weaker look-see. So, I mean, if we were really trying to connect this, it would probably be something more like that. But remember, your TA lines are as much an art as they are a science. Dang. I really wish I had been here to play that drop this morning. Just feels like the rest of the day's activity has just been kind of bleh. Of course, we were long where we needed to be, but it was messy. Messy, messy, messy. Only got about 4 more minutes before we're going to be calling it a day. I do like to wrap up by 11. I will probably keep trading for a little bit past that, but in an effort to not make these streams go super long into infinity and beyond all the time, and so that people actually want to watch to the end, we're going to always kind of try and wrap them up by 11 a.m. So that way you can get my incoherent ramblings, maybe a few nuggets of gold, and hopefully you'll see some winning trades that you can learn from and some losing trades that you can learn from. Although, personally, I hope they're all winners and there aren't losers, but that's just a reality we have to deal with. So, as always, guys, if you have hung around and watched to this point in the video, please like, subscribe, leave me a nice comment or a mean comment. I mean, I'd prefer a nice comment, but mean comments work too because, any comment helps the algorithm. Also, feel free to join us in our Discord. You can hang out with me live when I do this. You can ask me questions. We've got a lot of really cool folk in our community, knowledgeable, and if they don't have the knowledge you seek, they will probably know which direction to point you in, so that way you can find what you're looking for. All right, guys, it has been an absolute blast trading with you this morning. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. We are finishing the day 15 cents up. Yep. Well, they can't all be knocked out of the park. And green is green. And given where I'm at in my trading journey, I'm going to take it. All right, guys, take it easy and have a good one.